Can you imagine having developed carbon-related imaging technology that, due to the increasing trend of sustainability, has a big potential, but not having a defined business model and thus not having an industry to target it to? This was GeoSat Challenge. With the help of the VCW framework, we believe that targeting the carbon project developers within the electricity, gas, steam, and air conditioning supply industry to be the best solution. We are proposing to hire 4 additional employees, invest over €1 million, and work on this project for up to 14 months. Hi, we're Team B7, and this is our final project delivery for GeoSat. Let me introduce you to our lovely team. This is our email addresses in case any issue comes up. Before we get started, let's take a quick look at what we'll be covering today. This is our table of contents. We will start by giving a brief contextualization on GeoSat and the framework used for this project, the Value Creation Wheel Diana framework. Next, we will dive into the first phase of the framework, where we'll be giving you some background analysis and the definition of the challenges for this project, as well as the expected KPIs and the expected engagement of stakeholders. Then, we will move on to phase 2 and phase 3, where we'll be uncovering the selection of ideas and criteria that will be used on phase 4 for the value creation funnel and the multi-criteria decision analysis. In phase 5, we will discuss the business model and resources proposed for the new industry. And finally, we will conclude with some outputs and managerial implications, internal stakeholder statements, and lessons learned from working on the project. Let's get started with the first section, a contextualization on GeoSat. GeoSat is a Portuguese-based company that provides tailored Earth observation imaging services to clients from multiple industries, including agriculture, mining, and forestry. GeoSat works closely with their clients to understand their needs and provide customized solutions to address their pain points. GeoSat applies advanced algorithms to the images collected to arrive at specific information to address their clients' pain points and help them make better decisions. As stated from their website, GeoSat provides their clients with the Earth observation solution they need when they need it. To help us solve the problem proposed by GeoSat, we will be using the Value Creation Wheel, or as we will shorten it for the rest of the presentation, VCW. VCW is an innovative decision-making method that helps key decision makers find effective solutions to their challenges. VCW is fully customizable and creates value by providing supported solutions that can be defended by key decision makers through a well-established sequence of arguments called the value creation funnel. And this sequence results from a set of well-supported criteria. In this project, we will be using Diana, a theoretical framework that comprehends 5 main phases, to help us identify and evaluate potential solutions to our client's challenge in a structured and efficient manner. Nico will guide you through the first phase of the framework.
So thank you, Diogo. Our whole journey in the project with GeoSat basically started with the define phase. The purpose of this phase was, first of all, to better understand and discuss the cooperation partner and its environment, as well as the challenge itself. And then, in the further step, to identify KPIs in order to set both project-related and group internal goals. For this purpose, in the first step and with the help of the 3Cs method, it was possible to better understand the company by looking on their customers, competitors, and the company's own capabilities. GeoSat's customer portfolio is measured by over 165 customers and across over 65 countries, with their core product of satellite imagery. They address a various number of industries, such as the military or the agriculture, for instance. And working or acting in a very competitive market, the company competes at its core with other satellite operators, such as Airbus, and other satellite Earth observation service providers. In addition to many years of experience in their market, GeoSat focuses on providing secure and reliable satellite services, a very high quality and innovative satellite solutions. So in order to examine GeoSat's capabilities in greater depth and also to identify the company's weaknesses, a SWOT analysis was carried out based on the 3C analysis before. And starting with the weaknesses of the company, it can be said that besides the level of awareness, the dependence on technological improvements also weakens the company. In addition, the business model is not precisely defined, which makes it difficult to target customers. On the other hand, one strength of the company is that they have their own satellites, which makes them independent from other suppliers and reduces their costs in general. In addition, this enables a wide range of data and images as well as 24/7 services, which solves customer needs in an even more tailor-oriented way. The company's strengths and weaknesses also give rise to opportunities and risks for the future due to the dynamic and competitive environment of the company. There are risks in remaining competitive through value added and unique products and in defying external influences and adopting technological changes or improvements. And on the other hand, the demand of this new offer from many parties um, is increasing, and also the factor that the cost of satellite imagery is decreasing and the access to the technology is becoming easier promotes this whole opportunity for GeoSat. In addition, to complete the diagnostic phase, the internal company analysis was supplemented by a pastel analysis, which serves to analyze the environment in which GeoSat operates. At the political level, instabilities can lead to business being affected or regulations influencing the demand. Moreover, instabilities can also occur at the economic level in a region, which can also result in declines in demand, for example. And from a social perspective, the level of education and technology knowledge plays an influential role, and cultural differences among customers also play a role here. The technological level is then characterized by a high level of dynamism and strong innovation potential, which strengthens the need for research and development and also increases the risk of being left behind and thus also the competitive pressure. Then, in the environmental aspect, for example, extreme weather conditions are a risk factor as they can affect the functionality and internal and reliability of the satellites. And the last aspect, legal, is mainly characterized by the requirement with national and international rights and regulations, which, among other things, relate to data protection and may not be violated. And in the exchange with the client and based on our 5 whys analysis before, we finally came to the following challenge, which is to be discussed within the framework of this project. So the challenge is, what is the most valuable industry in which GeoSat can provide carbon-related imaging and services? And in the exchange with the client and based on our 5 whys analysis before, we finally came to the following challenge, which is to be discussed within the framework of this project. So the challenge is, what is the most valuable industry in which GeoSat can provide carbon-related imaging and services? Last but not least, in order to complete the defined phase 1, we worked with the key decision maker to create KPIs which are categorized as short term, meaning during this period of the course, then medium term, 1 year from now, and long term in the long future, and are derived from the strategic goals of the project. Short-term KPIs are, among others, our weekly team meetings, which should enable the smooth and running of the project, the delivery on time of all the phases to ensure that we are all aligned with the rest of the course, and the attractiveness of the identified industry for our client GeoSat. On a midterm and more broad perspective, KPIs for the project are the definition and development of a very clear business model for this new service, as well as the acquisition of a first customer in the identified industry to ensure the successful market entry. And a final midterm goal is to sell the service over 100,000 square kilometers in the first year, which can be measured by sales. Concluding with the long-term goals, which are to improve brand recognition in the new industry and to keep track of the customer relation retention rate, to be able to learn from it and improve customer loyalty.
Thank you, Nico. I will now take over with phase 2 of the value creation wheel for our GeoSat Earth Observation Carbon Sequestration Service project. As you just saw in phase 1, we focused on identifying the problem and defining the challenge for our project. Having established a clear understanding of the challenge, we can now transition into phase 2, called Increase, which is centered around generating ideas, setting criteria, and purifying concepts to determine the best industry for our service. To begin, let me provide an overview of phase 2. In the first step, we used the brainwriting technique to develop a comprehensive list of potential filters for our project. This method allowed us to brainstorm and capture a wide range of ideas within the team, ensuring that we considered all possible factors that could impact our decision-making process. In the second step, we employed the poker method to profile our concepts, eliminating filters that did not directly address our challenge. This helped us focus on the most relevant aspects and avoid spending time on less important factors. Finally, we conducted interviews with key decision makers, a GeoSat employee, and an external stakeholder to identify the most relevant filters for our challenge. These insights helped validate and fine-tune our approach, ensuring that our analysis is grounded in real-world expertise and experience. In the first step of phase 2, we applied the brainwriting and brainstorming technique to develop a list of potential ideas and filters that could be used for this project. We began with an extensive list of industries, narrowing down to 21 sections based on the International Standard Industrial Classification of all economic activities, such as agriculture, manufacturing, or even education and real estate activities. By brainwriting and brainstorming, we were able to get an extensive list of ideas and criteria without any noise and interference while doing that, so we would not exclude anything already at this stage. To analyze these industries, we established 63 filters categorized into 6 groups: technical, environmental, competition, political, economic, and financial filters. Some filters that you can see here: technological advancement, innovation potential, accessibility to satellite imagery, governmental incentives and policies, and contribution to carbon emissions. We thought of many filters that on the one hand help to differentiate industries in general, and on the other hand to find the best match for the specific challenge and niche of this project in Earth observation. During the purification of concepts, we utilized the poker method to eliminate multiply or review filters. For instance, we killed filters that didn't focus directly or indirectly on the challenge proposed, such as past data, data processing capabilities, and market share of the industry. We multiplied filters like atmospheric conditions and operational complexity. Additionally, we reviewed filters like technological advancement and accessibility in the industry, legislation of satellite imaging, and social impact. The purification process allowed us to narrow down our list of filters to the most relevant ones, such as Global Innovation Index, technical feasibility, availability of satellite imagery, experience with satellite imaging services and outcomes, or government incentives and policies, regulations and privacy, and revenue by industry. Another example of the poker method is that filters like level of pollution or terrain and topography seemed very important for the Earth observation sector. However, it's not helpful to choose an industry and were killed. At the end, we concluded that we would continue with the 32 keep filters. In conclusion, phase 2 of the value creation wheel allowed us to effectively generate ideas, establish criteria, and purify concepts to determine the best industry match for GeoSat's Earth Observation Carbon Sequestration Service. Throughout this process, we took a systematic approach to evaluate a wide range of industries and filters, ensuring that we considered all relevant factors and were thorough in our analysis. By conducting interviews with key stakeholders and refining our list of filters, we were able to focus on the most important aspects of each industry and identify potential opportunities for growth and value creation. As we wrap up phase 2, we will be moving forward into phase 3, where we will concentrate on selecting the most promising ideas and criteria and ranking them for later use in phase 4. This will enable us to prioritize and choose the best solution, ultimately leading to value creation for GeoSat and its customers. Let's dive into the details of our process. In phase 3A and 3B, we considered all 21 industries as potential solutions to find the right answer for our challenge, because without applying any filters and research, we are not able to exclude any industries yet, and they remain as valid ideas in value creation real language. After deeper analysis of the poker method KEEPS, we examined the measurability of the filters and derived the following 22 final filters that will be used for the value creation wheel called VCF and multiple criteria decision analysis called MCDA. This means out of the 32 KEEP filters, we concluded that 22 are measurable. Those 22 filters should be ranked and weighted. In phase 3C, we did that. We ranked and weighted the criteria by having key decision makers from the technical team and the business development team, but also from our team, rate each filter on a scale of 1, not important, to 5, extremely important. We then calculated the final score for each filter, with filter scoring over 13 considered relevant for phase 4. The table shows the rating and final scores for each filter. Overall, 16 filters, highlighted in green, passed the ranking and shall be used for the phase 4. However, in our project, we still had some changes regarding that, which will be explained on the next slide. Once again, and to clarify it better, from the 22 filters that were measurable, the must-have filters have a final score of at least 14 and are used in the VCF, and the nice-to-have filters have a score of 13, used in the MCDA. Filters scoring less than 13 would not be considered relevant anymore. This means that we would continue with 16 filters from the previous slide, scoring at least 13 points. However, after additional research, we could find sufficient data for the 4 must-have filters for the VCF, being revenue by industry, technical feasibility to perform the service, availability of satellite images by industry, and level of carbon emissions by industry. And 7 nice-to-have filters for the MCDA, being level of R&D expenditure by industry, environmental budget by industry, dependence of natural resources by industry, existence of carbon sequestration initiatives by industry, number of GeoSat competitors in the industry, GeoSat's past experience in the industry, and carbon footprint by industry relative to output. Together with the KDM, we agreed to continue with these 11 filters in sum to the next phase. Phase 3 of the value creation wheel enabled us to effectively select, rank, and rate criteria to prioritize and choose the best solution for GeoSat's Earth observation carbon sequestration service. As we conclude phase 3, we have a clear understanding of the most promising industries and criteria for our project. From 63 filters at the beginning of phase 2, we ended up with 11 filters at the end of phase 3. This will pave the way for phase 4 and, generally speaking, the value creation and growth opportunities for GeoSat and its customers. The phases 2 and 3, but also the following phase 4, showed to be crucial for this project, and at the same time it was probably the most challenging phases due to the niche of GeoSat's offerings and the relative novelty of these services.
And now that we already assessed the best criteria to solve our challenge, and we could rank the filters with the help of João and Javier, it is time to move to the fourth phase of the VCW framework, the narrow phase. The objective of this phase is to find the final solutions and conceptualize and prototype them, and it is relevant to mention that during this phase, our key decision maker, João, also played an important role in all the decisions that we had to take for this phase. So we will start this fourth phase by designing the value creation funnel, and we will do it by performing the VCF analysis. And as we said before, this VCF analysis will consider the four must-have filters, and these filters are the technical feasibility. So this filter will make sure that the carbon sequestration service is possible to implement in a certain industry, and the truth is that there are some industries that are not feasible for that end, and so it is important for GeoSat to understand in which industries the company can operate. The second filter is the satellite image availability, and as the name says, this filter will understand which industries have already satellite images available. In fact, high quality satellite data can help tracking progress, identifying issues, and verifying results. The third must-have filter is the level of carbon emissions, and this filter will be preeminent to understand which industries have a higher level of carbon emissions. And in fact, this information can help the carbon capture dependency industries to reduce their carbon footprint and also, and of course, to comply with emissions regulations. And the fourth and last filter to consider for the VCF analysis is the revenue by industry, and this filter will be evaluated in billions of dollars. In fact, this filter identifies larger markets with higher financial resources, which can result in a potential growth and increase in demand for GeoSat services and supporting easier market penetration strategies, competitive advantages, and in-ice and promote long-term sustainability of the company. So, it is also relevant to say that before running the funnel, we collect all the data and all the information found related to the application of those four must-have filters to the 21 industries that we define as our solution at the beginning of the third phase of the VCW framework. So we collect all of this data through individual research and also with the help of João, our key decision maker, that played a very important and useful role for this phase. And the truth is that we were not able to find data regarding the revenue level in billions of dollars for four different industries. And these industries are: the first one is the public administration and defense, compulsory social security. The second one are the activities of households as employers, undifferentiated goods and services, producing activities of households for own use. The third industry is the activities of extraterritorial organizations and bodies. And the fourth and last industry that we could not find data regarding the level of revenues is the other services activities. And because of such a situation, and considering that the must-have filters are the primary criteria to define the solution for our challenge, we work for the VCF and the for MCDA just with the 17 industries that we could find data regarding all of the four must have filters. We also meet with João to understand how important these industries were for the GeoSat and how this lack of information would impact the outcomes of the project. And together with João, we agreed that the best strategy to apply was to do the VCF and the MCDA with these 17 industries that remaining. So the 17 industries, just to clarify, are the industries that we could find all the data for the four filters of the of the VCF analysis. So the four must have filters. Okay, let's start with the funnel. So By applying the first filter, the technical feasibility, we could exclude two different industries: the human health and social work activities, and also the arts, entertainment, and recreation. So, from 17 filters, after applying this from 17 industries, after applying this first must have filter, we ended up with 15 industries to be evaluated for the second must have filter, that is, the satellite imagery availability. After applying this filter, we could exclude more two industries that are the accommodation and food service activities and the financial and insurance activities. So we ended up this second filter with 13 industries left. And so we then apply the level of carbon emissions filter. And in contrast with the other filters, where the answer for the filter was yes or no, for this filter, we had to evaluate the level of carbon emissions for all of the industries in cause, and what we did was that we considered the industries that have the above the average uh, for the level of carbon emissions, the industries that will have a high level of carbon emissions. So we did an average, and the industries that were above that average were considered the ones with high level of carbon emissions. Moving to the last filtered. The ones that were not considered with a high level of carbon emissions, so the ones considered with lower level, are the information and communication, the real estate activities, the professional, scientific and technical activities, the administrative and support service activities, and the education. So these industries are the ones that were excluded because they had a level of carbon emissions low when compared to the other industries. And the fourth and last filter of the must-have filters to be evaluated in the VCF analysis is the revenue by industry, and we apply the same strategy as we did for the level of carbon emissions. And we excluded two more filters, two more industries. There were the agriculture, forestry, and fishing industry, and also the water supply, sewage, waste management, and remediation activities. Therefore, the remaining industries that will be considered for the MCDI are the following six industries: the manufacturing, the electricity, gas, steam, and air conditioning supply, the construction industry, the wholesale and retail trade, the repair of motor vehicles and motorcycles, the transportation and storage, and the mining and quarrying. Let's then use these six remaining industries to apply the MCDA analysis. So, for the MCDA analysis, the filters used will be the nice to have filters. There are 70 different filters, and these filters are the carbon footprint by industry relative to output per billion, the GeoSat past experience with the industry, the dependence of natural resources by industry, the existence of carbon sequestration initiatives by industry, the number of GeoSat competitors operating in the industry, the environmental budget, and the innovation adoptability that will be evaluated based on the R&D expenditure. So, it is important to say that for the carbon footprint and for the innovation adoptability filters, the industries that ranked above or equal to the average scored 1 point. And for all the other filters, a yes answer scored 1 point, while a no answer means 0 points. For the number of competitors, for example, a low level of competition scored 1 point, and it means that for a certain industry there are one or no competitors, and a high level of competition scored 0, since GeoSat will not be interested in competing in a high competitive market, because in such market there will be their key players that have a higher market share and more resources when compared to GeoSat. It is also important to say that for the MCDI, in contrast with what happened on the VCF, we will not exclude the industries as we apply the filters. So what will happen is that we will evaluate the attractiveness of a certain industry by summing up the results, assuming some weights for each filter. So we will evaluate for the 6 industries, all the 7 filters, and after that we will sum up the scores, so 0 and 1, and we will understand which are the industries that seems to be more attractive. And then, after performing the MCDI, we could notice that the electricity, gas, steam, and air conditioning supply industry and the transportation and storage industry tied with 6 points of the overall attractiveness. And due to the situation, since we had 2 industries that ranked exactly the same points and that were the same place, we talked with João to share this situation and our results, and João, in collaboration with other GeoSat employees, decided that the best industry to go is the electricity, gas, steam, and air conditioning supply industry. Moving on to the concept and value proposition, with regards to the position in the value chain, GeoSat will adopt a downstream strategy. It is important to refer that for different services, the company may apply different approaches. There are some services in which GeoSat chose a midstream approach, so it really depends on the service. And for this strategy, since it is a downstream approach, the company will serve as a crucial provider of data and will create its value from analyzing this data. For this specific one, and according with João point of view, the goal is to provide the final service to the customer. Moving on to the STP, the segmentation, targeting, and positioning, has downstream suppliers that will serve the electricity, gas, stream, and air conditioning supply broad sector. We believe it would be more valuable for GeoSat if we segment the market for carbon-related imagery services based on the behavior, the needs, and the motivations of customers seeking such services. So instead of running again a VCF and MCDI analysis to find out which exact industry or sub-industry GeoSat should go for, we found out it would be more relevant and more significant to use this broad industry as a starting point and to understand in more detail and with more reasoning behind how can the company better serve the industry and where should the company focus on in order to achieve a successful performance. Therefore, for the segmentation, we decided to target clients based on the three characteristics that I just mentioned, the needs, behaviors, and motivations for the customers that want the service. And from these three characteristics, we cluster the segments into four different groups of customers: the carbon project developers, governmental regulators, consulting companies, and research innovation companies. We will analyze these segments in more detail in the next slide, but from these four identified segments, it is worth to mention that the carbon project developers were the chosen target to address. Why? Because the carbon project developers are the ones that will be crucial to validate the accuracy of our service. So they will be important to validate if the reduction of the emissions are optimized and at what extent the service adds value. Also, they will be crucial because these entities often have a green budget to allocate to services such as this GeoSat service, and so it is more probable that an entity like this one will go for a carbon sequestration service. Therefore, because of this need of monitoring carbon reduction efforts and the need to ensure a sustainable reputation, the carbon project developers are the GeoSat target. Moreover, in terms of positioning, the company wants to offer a specialized and personalized service for their partnerships, being this their unique value proposition. Therefore, the point is not just to collect data and analyze this data, but is about personalize and adjust this data to the customer itself and to what the client really wants. And so the point is to give personalized and specialized recommendations. So, additionally, it is important to state this, that this approach will help GeoSat to position as a sustainable firm, and this will not just help GeoSat but also the partners of GeoSat, so these customers that will also have the opportunity to enhance their position in the market because of the sustainable decisions that they will make by cooperating with GeoSat in these carbon related services.
All right, then now let's move into a more detailed analysis of the STP process. So we want to give you a better explanation of the reasoning we had behind the segmentation, targeting, and positioning. And let's start with the four segments that we divided the market into. First, we have carbon project developers, and these are companies that develop carbon reduction projects, for example, renewable energy projects, carbon capture projects, so projects in this field. And they basically need companies like GeoSat to provide them with data that reassures the information they have is correct, that reassures that they are actually reducing emissions, and basically that reassures that the whole process or the whole project is going in the right track and everything is going according to plan, and the project is scalable and sustainable. Besides this, a very interesting thing of carbon of this kind of companies is that they have green budgets, and these green budgets are to allocate to projects or to activities that will reassure their sustainable image, and that they are allocating time and money to sustainable related topics, and our service of course fits in these kind of activities or in these kind of projects, and this is good news for us, obviously. So before still moving to the other segments, I would just like to highlight that we chose them because clearly we feel like they are a good fit for our value proposition, but also because they see potential in this partnership both for GeoSat and for the company. So we think they can mutually benefit a lot from this partnership. In the end, that was a strong factor for the choice of the carbon project developers. But we will explain this a bit in more detail in the next few slides. Now let's move to the other three segments, which we still feel like are relevant to go over because they were not chosen, but they are for sure interesting, and they may be interesting for the future, who knows. And these three segments are the government regulators, and these are responsible for establishing and enforcing regulations related to carbon reduction and sustainability. They basically want to ensure that carbon sequestration activities are being accurately reported and that the companies are complying with legal requirements. But for that, they need objective and consistent data on emissions across geographic regions. And GeoSat can obviously provide those objective and consistent data. Then we also have the consulting companies, and these provide services to businesses that are looking to develop and implement sustainable strategies and that want to ensure compliance with regulatory requirements. The problem is that these consulting companies may not have the in-house expertise in carbon imaging. And they may hurt them because they may face reputational risk for providing low quality carbon information, and this is where GeoSat would be service would be valuable because GeoSat clearly has this knowledge and could almost consult the consulting companies on this area of the project. Finally, we have the research innovation companies, and these are companies that are focused in developing new technologies and solutions to address the industry challenges. But they need advanced data, both processed and filtered, to identify opportunities for improving, for example, energy efficiency in buildings or in transportation, or even to guide investments in this field. And again, GeoSat can provide them with these advanced data. We already explained you, just to wrap up this segmentation process, we already explained you why we targeted carbon project developers, but we would also like to add that we feel like since the key decision makers decided to position themselves as midstreams in the supply chain, as was already explored by Madalena, we feel like carbon developers perfectly fit as the end users to this midstream service, and that just reassures our decision of targeting carbon project developers for the service that we are dealing with. Identifying potential customers was going to also be helpful for GeoSat, and so within this target that we chose, Galper Products and BP would be nice companies for GeoSat to work with, because not only they are well-known companies, but they also have carbon reduction projects all around the world. Galp, for example, is developing a project in Brazil to produce renewable natural gas from waste products. Air Products has a project for carbon emissions capturing from a natural gas plant in Texas. And then we have BP that have invested in carbon reduction projects around the world. So these are customers that could benefit from a GeoSat service, but that could also be interesting for GeoSat to work with. Right, then once the segmentation and targeting were done, we proceeded with the positioning, and for that we started by looking at our competitors and understand what were the points of parity and where could GeoSat differentiate. We quickly realized that the main difference between GeoSat and Earth's space system here on the right, which is a service provider, is that GeoSat has their own satellites and therefore has more flexibility when it comes to prices and offering lower prices, for example, or even delivering faster services because the access to the images or to the data, it's easier than for a company that doesn't have their own satellite. And we, looking back to our target, we didn't think it was the most interesting strategy to go for. So we focused on the majority of our competitors, which are satellite operators. And when we look to the point of parity, we concluded that, okay, all these companies, just like GeoSat, capture high resolution images of the Earth face, and besides that, they provide the images, the data, the analysis of the data, and even recommendations or more of a consulting service. And then besides these, all these companies have a diverse range of customers in different countries and in different industries, which is good because it reduces the business risk. And so, where could we be or where could GeoSat be different from the competitors that offer such a similar service? Well, we believe it's sustainability. And why? Well, because yes, it's true that the market is saturated, but the opportunity is there. The world's demand for sustainability and sustainable awareness continues to grow. We clearly see companies shifting towards a greener future. So for sure, GeoSat shouldn't be pushed away by competitors and should capitalize on the growing market for monitoring carbon reduction efforts. And if they focus on sustainability, they can capitalize on businesses that are sustainable driven and that have these green budgets to allocate to projects. As we agreed with the key decision maker, since this is an add-on product or service for GeoSat, it's not going to be their main source of profitability, and therefore it becomes an interesting service not only to increase brand recognition and drive new customers, but also to establish GeoSat as a sustainable brand. And what happens is that if GeoSat positions as a sustainable company that wants to contribute to improving other companies' sustainability, aligns with the customer on this story of being sustainable, or on this image of being sustainable. However, that's not enough. They also need to provide a good service because the competitors have a quality service. And we analyzed some domains we believed were important, such as affordability, user-friendly tools, real-time consulting, and sustainable reputation. We see that all the competitors are quite similar on these domains. We see that especially on sustainability, and that's why we also want to build on this sustainability differentiator factor. But also we see that not only GeoSat has ranks worst on the user-friendly tools, but we also see that it's not the strongest point of all the competitors. And so what we thought was that GeoSat develops this user-friendly platform. They can distinguish themselves from the competitors, and basically they would have this platform where the companies they work with would have an account, and everything that was discussed between GeoSat and the company would end up there in a clean and organized way, and that includes the images, the data, the recommendations, the analysis. It would be an easy way to access to what is discussed between the GeoSat and the company. And in this platform later on, if GeoSat wanted, they could develop a subscription plan where customers would pay a subscription fee and have access to images and data that were more general, so not specific to that company, but that GeoSat would make available. And of course, because there's no specialized service, would also have a different price or a lower price. And as we will see in a moment, prices should be reevaluated over the time, and having this user-friendly platform can of course be a reason to increase a bit price, because it's a better service that in the end GeoSat would be offering.
Phase 5 will focus on a product strategy and highlight crucial steps that are necessary for a successful outcome. It's highly necessary for GeoSat to integrate a new business model for carbon sequestration assessment services based on satellite Earth observation data to be competitive in the market. We recommend GeoSat to employ a penetrations pricing strategy which is advantageous as it will help GeoSat to quickly attract new customers, gain market share, and increase their brand recognition. Therefore, the starting price will be 15 euros per kilometer squared in the first and second year, with €1 discount to current customers. And when they reach the growth stage, they should increase the price to 24 euros per kilometer squared. It is important to stress that the product lifecycle has different stages when entering a new market or industry, so once the product has gained wider acceptance and demand has increased, they can gradually increase the price to improve profitability. GeoSat should continue to use their current promotional strategies, but in addition to their current approach, we also suggest implementing events and conferences where GeoSat will present the new service and communicate their goal to reduce carbon footprint. This is a similar strategy to what one of the key players in the market, Maxar, has adopted, and the company is gaining market share and retaining more customers because of their strategy. This is then a valuable approach for GeoSat to add in order to gain more market share, show how committed they are to making a difference on this planet, and attract new customers who align with their sustainable goals. Moreover, their new business model will be communicated through social media platforms, direct email marketing, and online channels to advertise the new project. To support the new Earth observation project, 4 employees are believed to be needed. We believe that hiring a business developer, data analyst, operations engineer, and marketing manager are the most critical roles for the start of this project. However, the reason why only 4 employees are on that list is because GeoSat is an existing company, and we believe that these employees would be an additional workforce to support the Earth observation project. Further, the data analyst and operations engineer will have the highest task-relevant maturity, as they will make sure that the satellite is operating properly without any complications or issues, as the project will not be successful without a fully functional satellite. Furthermore, launching the project is estimated to take approximately 14 months due to several preliminary steps that are needed to be taken. For instance, refining algorithms, conducting internal testing, collaborating with institutions, and developing a strong marketing strategy are steps that are crucial before the launch. Therefore, the timeline is more generous in terms of time to allow for more steps to be added if necessary throughout the process. As GeoSat is about to enter a new industry, it is important to make a few investments, not only for the functionality of the project, but to also stay competitive in the market. Then for this project, the costs are expected to exceed 1 million euros. This is mainly because of the high cost of maintaining and repairing a satellite. Hiring new employees is also an additional cost that GeoSat will have to consider when starting this project. To add, the salaries that are shown on the slide are based on the Portuguese and Spanish markets, since the 2 locations are the current markets that GeoSat operates in. This business model canvas sums up a lot of points that has already been mentioned and gives us a concise overview. But it's crucial to emphasize that the revenue streams will come from subscriptions, consulting services, licensing of technology, grants, and funding for research and development. This is very important for sustainable growth and development, as in the previous slide, it was mentioned that the cost will exceed 1 million euros. Moreover, the aim with this project is to create a timely and cost-effective estimation of carbon sequestration and customize the solutions for different clients and industries to meet their needs and preferences when it comes to that aspect. Partnering with a diverse range of organizations can also provide GeoSat with access to a variety of expertise, resources, and knowledge. Imagery providers can help to accurately measure and monitor carbon sequestration efforts, while government agencies and research institutes can provide insight into carbon sequestration policies and practices. Climate change think tanks and NGOs can help raise awareness and drive action towards mitigating the effects of climate change, and carbon offset developers can offer market expertise in developing and trading carbon credits. Moving forward with the key performance indicators for this project, we have accomplished all of the short-term goals, namely having weekly meetings, the compliance with project deliveries, gathered feedback from the KDM and professors, as well as developed a strategy to cater the product. Although it's not possible to measure all the goals without launching the service, it is expected to achieve them in the medium and long term because of the highly attractive industry identified and the high demand for sustainability practices and their fit with GeoSat's mission. However, we are confident that following the timeline we have created will make this achievable. And after diving deeper into the market demands and the potential new service targeting and positioning, we have considered it to be valuable to include the KPI of being recognized as a sustainable brand for the long-term goals, as this will allow GeoSat to monitor their brand recognition. Finally, for future opportunities, we have used the NSOF metrics model to identify potential growth opportunities and make informed decisions about their growth strategies. By using the metrics, GeoSat can avoid any mistakes and ensure that they are allocating their resources in the most effective way possible. This model consists of 4 strategies, which are the following: market penetration, market development, product development, and also diversification. Therefore, for the diversification strategy, we believe that it's crucial for GeoSat to offer a range of services that support carbon offsetting and carbon trading, such as carbon credit verification and certification. Offering a range of services that support carbon offsetting and carbon trading can be beneficial for GeoSat both in terms of generating revenue, meeting customer demands, improving their reputation, and competitive position. In case GeoSat successfully establishes the new business model in the market, there is the possibility to extend the product and service to other industries in the near future. By entering new markets, which is possible due to the independence of the product from a specific industry, GeoSat can thereby grow further and gain market share.
Thank you, Ellen. We have concluded the final phase from GeoSat and have reached the conclusion of our project, where we will be discussing the project's next steps, outputs and managerial implications, as well as the key decision maker statement and lessons learned by conducting this project. Starting with the next steps, we have divided it in 3 phases, starting right after the course, so within the next month, after the official launch of the service in 14 months, and in the long term. The first stage of the project is to finalize the business model proposed by GeoSat. This involves detailed budgeting, manpower planning, and timeline creation. Because although we conducted extensive research on GeoSat, their competition, and the industry, GeoSat has to ensure that the business model is feasible and sustainable for them. The second stage of the project is to decide on the customers who fits best with GeoSat's mission and establish strong relationships with them. We suggested Galp, Air Products, and BP, but we also understand that there are a lot of potential customers that could be interesting to work with. Then, moving on to after the product is launched, we believe that it is important to start measuring the medium and long-term KPIs proposed in phase 1 that Nico mentioned, and to implement and integrate customer feedback to improve services, as this will ensure customer loyalty. Finally, for the long term, after the new service is well established, we believe that it will be a good opportunity for GeoSat to expand to different industries, and for this, we recommend some of the industries that made it to the NCDA, namely manufacturing, construction, wholesale and retail, transportation and storage, and mining and quarrying. Also, it will be good to add services that support carbon offsetting and carbon trading, such as carbon credit verification and certification. For the project outputs, we have definitely developed some knowledge in this market that we previously had no experience with, and were able to determine the most attractive industry using the VCW framework. We have defined the target segment and potential customers based on GeoSat's desire to position the service as a downstream service, and have proposed the resources needed to implement this service and the business model needed for the entry in the market. The managerial implications are the starting point for GeoSat to develop a more detailed resource plan, like I mentioned in the last slide, and the fact that electricity, gas, steam, and air conditioning supply industry is an industry that GeoSat has already worked with, will make establishing partnerships and finding clients easier. We have asked João, our key decision maker, for a statement on how working with us went, and he said, and I quote, "It was great getting to work with Diogo, Edin, Elvin, Madalena, Matilda, and Nico. They went above and beyond to do this project, as they not only had to grasp the concepts taught in their course, but also had to learn about the whole sector that they had previously no understanding of. The space sector and the Earth observation applications domain are still emerging and not known to many. And even though it is not easy to navigate, they pushed to get access to the information and people that they needed to fulfill their objectives. For the lessons learned after the application of the VCW framework, we have to mention the need of input from those who are closer to the product, so the key decision makers, especially while selecting the filters, since these must cover different relevant areas for a strong and accurate solution. Also, the importance to establish ideas with the key decision makers so our conclusions are in line with what they expect is really important. The overall market knowledge gained by conducting the market research and engaging with the key decision makers. And finally, that firms may lack management background, which can constitute a barrier to acquire reliable information to conduct these types of projects. We have also included our final project poster that was presented in class. I suggest pausing the video to take a closer look at it. This is it. We hope you have enjoyed our presentation. We want to thank João, GeoSat employees Javier and Manuel, and the professors for all the help they have provided us within these past 12 weeks. It was a challenging yet rewarding project, and we are very happy with the final result. We hope you are too.